Are you wanting to change out the drum brakes in your vehicle? Maybe you're a little intimidated by all the springs and components that go into it. I have several tips and tricks that'll make this go much smoother, so make sure to watch the end to find out what those are. Hey YouTubers, I'm Jacob and this is a how-to video for changing out drum brakes in a light-duty 70s era Bronco. This same style drum brake goes all the way up into the 90s and is very similar across all platforms in the light-duty package. And I've included links to all the products and tools I'm using today in the description below, so make sure to click on those and check them out. Really don't look too bad. I thought they'd be in much worse shape. Taking your pictures of the shoes and how everything goes together, it's a good idea to lay your parts out and make sure you've got everything and see if anything's missing. So something with this kit that I bought is I noticed it doesn't have the adjuster cable. This cable right here that goes down to the adjuster helps engage the parking brake as well. Definitely a good idea to just go ahead and replace that when you're doing this job. This cable doesn't look like it's in terrible shape, but it's always good practice to go ahead and replace it. So that's something I'm gonna have to pick up from the parts store before I put the new shoes on. This is why I like laying my parts out, just to make sure I've got everything before I start tearing it down. So this special tool here, it helps to have a set of these pliers for brakes. It just makes everything a little bit easier than trying to muscle it on there. So I'll show you here at the end, you can actually use this to remove these springs. So just kind of push it in and rotate them off like that. Okay, so you can actually hold it on the backside and just rotate it with your finger. Take this washer out, which we'll need to reuse. Disconnect the parking brake cable here. Let's take this clip off to save this parking brake engagement piece. Also going to be replacing this wheel cylinder here, and I already put some PB Blaster on it earlier this morning just to help break that bolt loose. Doesn't look like I have any leaking, but it's definitely rusted and aged, so it's a good time to go ahead and replace it. If you're replacing the parking brake cable like I am, it's easiest to remove them with a 13mm closed wrench to compress the mounting barbs and pull the cable through. So for my wheel cylinder on these Broncos, the brake line goes in towards the back side. So this one is the correct side, and we'll reuse these little plunger arms. Definitely help to have some of that PB Blaster on there to break this free. All right, so now that I know that I've got it able to loosen it up, I can go ahead and crack these 1/2-inch bolts to get it loose. So I left the cap on my brake reservoir, so it shouldn't leak out as fast as if I were to take it off. But you'll see there is some fluid coming out. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it. All right. I'm just gonna cover this up. And then I'm gonna spray this down real quick before I get my new cylinder in. You don't want to blow this with a compressor because there could be possibly asbestos pads if these are original. So definitely don't want to do that and get it airborne and expose yourself to that. ahead and wipe the threads off. We don't want to get anything in our new cylinder here. I'm just going to go ahead and unplug it. Take the cap out. And then get it started by hand, making sure that you're not cross-threading. I sometimes like to spin backwards until I feel them seat, just like that. And I'm just going to get my mounting screws set up. My mounting screws snugged up. I'm tightening my brake line on, and since I put it on by hand, I know it's not cross-threaded, which is very important. Otherwise you're going to have some brakes that leak, you're not going to have the right pressure, and you're going to have to replace your brake line probably. Alright, now that I got it snugged up nice and tight, I'll wipe it down and remove my plastic. That way I can check and see if there's any leaks before I bleed the system, which we'll do last. Okay, so I'm going to reattach my emergency brake arm here. Already got it cleaned up. I'm going to be using this washer as well, which should help lock it in place. So it should go down like that. Now you'll pinch this closed. Should be able to move freely. First thing you want to do is hook up your parking brake. Should just slip right over this piece. Like that. And then I'm going to get it lined up here. And I like to use a clamp just to kind of keep this in place until I can get the pin connected. Makes it a little easier on yourself. Take your pin and insert it from the back side. Since I don't have the specific tool, I like to use these needle nose vice grips. You just twist it and lock it right in. And it's going to go with the adjuster towards the back. You want it all the way down. You install this part for now. I want to install this with the spring facing forward. Sometimes you might have a guide. Mine didn't have one on this side. There was one on the other side, so it must have got lost in someone else's install. Let's install this adjuster on. And then the spring. Supposedly this tool puts it on like this, but I haven't had much luck. it's going to go over this guide here, but we'll have to install the spring first. I want to make sure it's seated in that track, and then you can just kind of muscle it up onto there like that. Just like that. All right, then our final spring here hooks on here. Just like that. I'll remove my clamp. Now everything looks like it's in good order. I'm going to install the new drum here, and then we'll adjust the tightness. So basically this helps expands the brakes. It's self-adjuster. You want just a little bit of drag on the brakes, and then you'll back it off 2 clicks. It's just a lot of fine tuning.
If you'd like to see how to install the remainder of the parking brake lines, make sure to smash down that subscribe button.
I like to spray these off because they do have some sort of protective film coming from the factory to help prevent rust. You just want to get that off so that you have some good braking efficiency. All right, so if you don't have a vacuum pump that's functional or someone else to help you, this is one way that you can do it on your own. My vacuum pump is not functioning, but I'm going to use the canister for it. Another way you could do this is if you just have some tubing and then just like a empty water bottle or a Gatorade bottle, you can use that as well. You just want to make sure there's a little bit of fluid in the bottle and that the tube is in the fluid. That way it's not going to be sucking up air when you do this. So what I'm going to do is remove the bleeder valve cap, place my tubing over the bleeder valve. You want to make sure your reservoir is topped off because in this process you could potentially bleed the reservoir dry, and if you do that, it's going to be a headache bleeding the whole system again. So make sure it's topped off. I'm going to double check mine. Okay, the reservoir is full all the way to the top, and for these older trucks and Broncos, the front reservoir that's smaller is actually the rear. And now I'm just going to crack the valve. If you crack it enough that a little bit of fluid starting to come out, that's a good thing. The bubbles is just air coming around the bleeder valve. And now that I've got it cracked, I can go ahead and step on the brakes.
You'll want to slowly press the brake pedal down all the way and then release and repeat several times, but don't go crazy and bleed your reservoir dry.
I'm going to tighten it back up. And I'm going to check my fluid level in my reservoir and top it off as needed.
And then I'll start pumping the brakes again and see if I have good brake pressure. If it just goes straight to the floor, that means that there's air in the lines, and that's actually compressing more than the fluid. And so that means you need to keep bleeding your system to get that air out. I feel pretty good about how the brakes feel. They're much better feeling than they were previously. So I feel like I'm done here with the bleeding. Now, if I do experience any kind of squishiness, then I want to come back and start bleeding these brakes. It's also good to check the adjustment on the shoes to make sure you're actually engaging them on the drums. You can see it's probably a good thing I changed out the cylinders and bled these lines a little bit. They're pretty dirty.
All right, now we're going to torque to 90 foot-pounds. Okay, so after you finish up your brakes, it's a good idea to go ahead and take it for a test drive. Obviously, make sure your fluids are topped off ahead of time in your reservoir after bleeding your brakes. If you did your brake cylinders, stop leaving in the driveway before. Make sure you can actually stop.
take it for a test drive, test it braking at 25, 55 miles an hour. And the Broncos seem to brake much better. But I noticed coming in to my driveway, coming home, I had parked on a hill, put the Bronco in neutral, and then put my parking brake on to see how well my drum brakes were engaging. Now, they really weren't engaging that well with the parking brake, telling me that they need to be adjusted a little bit tighter. So the way that you can do that without even having to pull the wheels off is jack up the rear end, remove this small inspection cover here, and then use a flathead screwdriver, and you can actually see the adjustment wheel here and adjust it as needed. Now, mine needed to be a little bit tighter, so now you can kind of see they're a little bit stiffer while moving. You can adjust this to where if it gets really stiff, then you want to back it off just a couple of clicks. You want to kind of find that happy medium, so it's important to make sure that your brakes are adjusted properly on both sides. That way you're not getting one side that's braking harder than the other and causing your vehicle to pull hard to one side. You can kind of see the wheel in there. Now, there are specific tools out there called like brake spoons. Totally unnecessary. You can easily do it with a flathead screwdriver. And I just went ahead and adjusted mine, so it should be good. It's good to occasionally check them too. And then also, after driving at least 50 miles, check the torque on your wheels again and just make sure that you're not going to lose the tire while driving down the road. Or strip any studs out, because that's not fun replacing those. Thanks for watching this how-to video for installing new drum brakes along with the springs and self-adjuster kit on my 79 Bronco. If you enjoyed it, smash on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. And don't forget, I've included links to all the products and tools I use today in the description below, so make sure to click on those and check them out. Thanks for watching.